In this exercise we're going to look at using curves to make 3D objects. We've got a Bezier circle to extrude around. We're going to add a special shaped bevel which we're constructing from a Bezier curve. So the story behind this is we're imagining we're a jeweler making a ring for a railway enthusiast, and they want the ring to be in the shape of railway section of railway track. It has a flange on the top and a flange on the bottom and narrow bit in the middle. Notice that we wanted a sharp edge on one of the corners, so we changed the control point to free so we could get a sharp corner. Notice also that the profile has to be positioned to the left of the y-axis, and it all has to be done in edit mode. Now we added a text object, and in edit mode we can change the words of the text. And we've added a modifier to use the curve. We're using the same Bezier circle to guide the curve modifier, and then we have to flip it 90 degrees and 180 degrees to make it readable from our perspective. We also extrude it slightly, which is set under Object Data Properties under Geometry. We also need to change the Y location to make it stick out of the outside and not stick into the inside, and we adjust the scale and height so it fits nicely. Then we convert it into a mesh. We notice the curved face, especially the O, is fairly horrible, and you can see the lines running across it, so we beautify the mesh. But notice now that this face and the side are two separate meshes, so we can glue them together by merging by distance. We shade smooth, you can see that it's all rounded. But if we add a bevel, we then get a much more natural rounded corner rather than an artificial sudden corner. And we parent the lettering to the curve. That's because these will remain as two separate pieces. We can't use join to join a mesh object to a curve object. So we parent the text mesh to the curve, and then we set the materials, just as we did in chapter 1, set the material to a suitable gold material. This time I'm making a Voronoi texture using the Chebyshev algorithm, which produces a more rectangular pattern, especially with low randomness, setting the displacement and the roughness. Anyway, it's just a variation. Once we've made the material, we have to also assign the same material to the lettering mesh object. Finally, move the ring up out of the way so whilst we make the rest of it. Now we're going to add a mould, a former, which is just an icosphere, which we're going to alter into the shape of a mask, add a few vertices and displace them up and down. Notice I've set the Y symmetry because the icosphere doesn't have X symmetry. Now we've added curve, a Bezier curve, selected in edit mode, we've selected all the points and deleted them. And then in the text bar we've selected the draw method. Notice when we first draw, it draws at the cursor depth. We need to set the tool properties. We need to set it to draw on a surface. So now it draws lines on the surface, and we can change the bevel using a round bevel to produce wires. We draw in alternate directions so they overlap in a kind of weave. Just generally, there's a strange glitch there which we need to delete that vertex, so go into edit mode and select the point and delete it. And we build a mesh of wires covering the mask to produce a kind of random weave effect. We also need to put the end caps on the bevel. And when we've got enough wires built up, we can select some of them and then change the diameter. In the object data properties, they'll all change, so we need to actually select in edit mode the radius of individual points, or we could create two objects, I suppose. So we make some fatter and some thinner. And then we'll tidy up the points that have gone over the edges. We use the same gold material for this. We hide the icosphere in the view and in the render, and just tidy up some of the stray points. When we're happy with the mask, we can create a plinth for it to stand on. We make a duplicate of the ring and have one for each eye, just as a slightly surreal thing. So I'm making it look like a kind of plastic covered plinth. We change the colour and make it look plasticky by adjusting the subsurface amount and subsurface colour and the roughness. We're going to render it using cycles, so we'll put cycles as the render engine. For the lighting and for the background, we're going to use an environment texture. Go into the World Properties tab, and then under Background Colour, select Environment Texture, and then browse to the installation folder where Blender is. Navigate down to Data Files, Studio Lights, World, and we'll select a suitable interior texture. Using these environment textures is a very efficient way of illuminating. It produces very realistic illumination and reflections, so ideal for a situation like this.